The rule now is, if I feel sorry for you, I'm good. Right, and so let's say there's a complex situation that requires a tremendous amount of adult cognitive computation to solve, like what do we do about the borders? Because tearing them down is not the answer. Well, the person who stands up and says, well, I see someone who's hurt by a border and I feel empathy for them, then immediately says, therefore I'm good, which isn't so bad, but therefore I'm also morally superior to you. And this is one of the true pathologies of the empathic collectivists, is that they presume that their reflexive empathy marks them out as morally superior. And that's appalling, because part of it is, A, it's too easy. Just because I feel sorry for you doesn't mean I'm good. Partly because I can feel so sorry for you that I'm actually harmful to you. And that's what happens in the case of overprotective parents, for example. So we know perfectly well that empathy is not an untrammeled moral virtue. It has to be tempered by other virtues, and carefully tempered by other virtues. And so we have to stop allowing in our public discourse the unquestioned assumption that just because I manifest more pity in the moment than you do, that I'm somehow a morally superior individual. Yes. In fact, not only do we have to question that, we in fact have to deeply question it and say, what makes you think that you're just not taking things too far right there? Because there's just as much error on the side of too much empathy as there is on the side of too little empathy. And that's a hard thing for everyone to learn, because empathy feels so good. Like, if you feel mercy towards a suffering child, it's like, that is kind of an indication that you're an ethical person. But that's not the basis for complex and sophisticated foreign policy.
Well, we know it isn't, because we know our empathy diminishes in an almost linear way with the numbers of people to empathize with, right? So we spoke about this one night in Vancouver, but this has been tested, where if you tell someone about the plight of one little girl, you will elicit the maximum empathic response and the maximum of an altruistic response. They'll give the most amount of money they're going to give to any cause to one compelling story to save one little boy or girl. But if you start adding boys and girls to the one, keeping the one the same, people's empathy degrades and their altruism degrades. So empathy is non-quantitative almost by definition.
It's also partly because in your life, if you see a person in trouble, you might be able to do something about them. But if you see a million people in trouble, what you should probably do, at least to begin with, is run.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are you going to do? Maybe you could give $1,000 to one person, but if you divided that up among a million, all that would happen would you would have no money, and they wouldn't be any better off.
But this is to say that so much of moral progress today entails unhooking from the highly salient empathy-driving story and connecting with the actual quantitative reality, to learn that it's 500,000 people dying every year from heart disease or whatever it is, or there's 500,000 people dying in this famine. The fact that can't be made sexy for our news cycle, right? The fact that we lose attention is something we have to figure out how to correct for.